like to introduce our next speaker, Margo Robbins, who has traveled from Humboldt County to be with us today. And Margo is the co-founder and president of the Cultural Fire Management Council. She is one of the key planners and organizers of the Cultural Burn Transition Exchange, TREX, that takes on the Yurok Reservation. It takes place on the Yurok Reservation twice a year, and these are trainings we'll hear more about throughout the day, how people are learning how to do these burn practices. She is the co-lead and advisor for the Indigenous Peoples Burn Network. She is an enrolled member of the Yurok tribe, and she gathers and prepares traditional food and medicine. She is a basket weaver and regalia maker. She is the Indian Education Director for the Klamath Trinity Joint Unified School District, and she is a mother and a grandmother. Margo, thank you.
Ayakui te wameka ki na newache. Hello, I'm glad to see you. I'm going to start out this presentation with a flower dance song. And a flower dance is held for a young lady as she, when she becomes a young woman. And my friend Monica is going to join me in this song. So Monica has, we'll use hazel sticks. In the flower dance, we use hazel sticks to wake up the house. And then my stick is made with mock orange. So that song is actually my sister's song. She gave me permission to sing it. In our ways, you're not allowed to sing other people's songs unless you have permission. And the flower dance is the one time we make exceptions to that when everybody can sing together. The flower dance is something that went away for many, many, many years, and has just come back to the people in the last 10 years. About 4 years ago, my niece had a flower dance, the first one in our family, and my sister Carol was one of the 7 sisters. So in that dance, in the beginning song, the grandmother dances backwards around the center fire, bringing us back in time to that time when the Wage spirit beings was here on this plane of existence. And so she sings a song, and in that song she asks the 7 sisters up in the sky who continually sing and dance to stop singing and dancing up there and come here to earth and join us as we bring this young woman into womanhood. As part of that ceremony, the young woman learns what she needs to do to be a good person, to be a contributing part of the community, and to take care of the things that are the responsibility of women to take care of. As part of that dance, she makes a maple bark skirt. This girl is wearing a maple bark skirt, and you use the inner layer of the maple to make that skirt. And so as one of the 7 sisters, my sister was part of helping to make that skirt, and they went out into the woods, and you strip off a piece of bark that's actually about twice as long as what you need because you fold it over. And she felt so bad for that maple tree as they took the very skin from its body. And this song that we just sang was to honor the maple tree. The song has one word, it's Pequot a lot, and that means maple. And each time I sing that song, it is a reminder to me of how closely we are related to the things that live and grow around us, to the plants and the trees and the rocks and the animals. They each have a spirit, and in our home places, our spirit is directly connected to the spirits of those things. That they speak, our spirits speak to each other, and we have a responsibility to care for each other, to keep this place in balance, not only physically, but spiritually. It is our privilege and responsibility to take care of each of our home places. At one time, we depended on the world around us for everything. Our homes is made of redwood. Our boats, our canoes were made also of redwood. And even after we harvest those things and put them to use, they still have a spirit. In our canoes, they're carved with a heart and a lungs. And the front is the nose. And in our homes, our traditional homes, we live in homes like everybody now, but in our traditional homes, there was a redwood stick in the center by the fire, and that's the heart of the house. Our clothes was made from either animal hides or, like this dress, from the maple. Our foods and medicines come from outside. You know, a lot of people think, they wonder how we learned how to do the things that we did. How do we know what to eat? How do you learn to make a basket like this? How many people died before you learned what was true medicine and what wasn't? And I tell people that our creation stories talk about the time when those Wage spirit beings was here on this earth, and they actually created the world as we know it. In our culture, there was one of the most powerful ones. Now I'm forgetting his name. But he could speak things into being. I call him a he. Well, he was a he because he was also woman crazy. So anyway, these spirit beings, they made the world as we know it, and they prepared it for humans to come. And when we as humans came, before the Wage spirit beings left, they taught us what was good to eat, and what was good for medicine, and what plants to use for weaving, and how to lift up prayer in a way that Creator wanted us to lift up prayer. And now when we have our world renewal ceremonies, we try to get it as close as possible to the way that it was given to us. And when we as humans had learned those lessons, then some of the spirit beings left. But some stayed, and they took the form of the different plants and animals and waterways that we now know. And so when we look out and we see the different trees, or we're harvesting different things from the land, we be sure to thank that plant or that animal for the sacrifice of giving part of its body, or maybe all of its body. And we remind them that they are the descendants of those first spirit beings who agreed to stay here and provide for the needs of the human people. And we are upholding our part of the bargain by being thankful, by being respectful, by using only what we need. Over here I brought a basket display, and so I will talk about some of that. The frame of all of our baskets. The frame of all of our baskets is willow sticks. Excuse me, hazel sticks. Some people do use willow if their hazel is not available. But this is a basket that my grandmother started to weave. She passed on before she was able to finish it. But you can see that all of these sticks, and then they are covered with willow roots. This is a bundle of sticks for a bigger sized basket. Hazel is a serotinous plant. It doesn't just grow like this without intervention. It needs to have fire in order to send up new shoots. In our part of the world, we had not had fire for a long, long time, and the art of basket weaving was dying out. The only sticks we was able to get was occasionally if there was a wildfire and maybe hazel grew there, that we would be able to have sticks. 7 years ago, I was getting ready, my oldest daughter was getting ready to have twins. And I was determined that my grandbabies would be held in baby baskets. She was having not one, but 2 babies, and I had only a few sticks, not enough, maybe enough to make 1, certainly not enough to make 2. And I said, this is not okay. As Native people, as Europe people, we are basket weavers, and we need to have sticks. We need to bring fire back to the land. And out of that came the Cultural Fire Management Council. We use baskets from the time our babies are born. This is one that I made for actually a newborn. From the time they're born until the time they pass on, we use baskets to cook with. We use baskets for eating. We use them to lift up prayer. We use them to make eel traps, to catch eels. We use them to carry things. I brought several baskets here with me today, and so I will show you those. This is a miniature eel trap that my son made. You can maybe see the funnel that goes up inside of it. And then the eels get trapped in there and they can't get back out. So you guys can pass this around if you want and then just send it back to the front. This is a miniature burden basket. Traditionally, the burden baskets would come from the top of your shoulders down to your waist. This is a very thin strap, but this would go on your forehead and you pack it like this. I can't imagine how strong those old-time ladies was packing like a big, huge basket like this. This is a cooking basket. It's wove tight enough to hold water. It's made with the hazel base and spruce roots. Spruce roots actually swell up a little when you use them. And we use these black shiny rocks as cooking rocks. So you put these rocks into the fire, and when they get red hot, you put them into the basket with your acorn flour and water, and then you just keep stirring them around and around. When you put those hot rocks in there, it comes to an instant boil. I'm just going to leave the rest of these sitting up here, and people can look at them later if they want. The only thing that I ask is please do not touch the ceremonial dance caps, similar to the one that I'm wearing, a little more colorful. Dance caps, please don't touch these. These are worn during the brush dance. A brush dance is held to heal a sick child or lift up prayer that they'll live a long and healthy life. Again, the base of this is the hazel sticks, and the white is bear grass. Bear grass also is a fire-dependent plant. So this is bear grass. It grows up in the higher elevations. And it needs to have fire, otherwise it's kind of brittle and it cuts you a lot easier. It'll still cut you if you're not careful. And the black is black fern. And here is an example of the black fern. This grows in the wet areas, and half of it is black and half of it's brown. And so you use pepperwood, I think you guys probably call them bay. Use a short piece about like this and split it in half, and then you run it along the stem and separate the black from the brown. And the colors are, they're overlaid over top of willow roots. So the willow roots is what holds the sticks together. And then when we do the designs, we just lay the color over top of the willow root. This cap has red and white. Again, the white is made with the bear grass, and the red is made with woodwardia fern. This also grows in the damp spots. And so we hammer the stem, and inside the stem is 2 fibers that we take out. And then we dye those fibers with alder bark. I forgot to mention the yellow color on this basket. I'm not sure if you can see the yellow on it or not. Not very many people work with yellow. It's a difficult material to work with. It is porcupine quills. Yeah. You can't tell me somebody just thought of that. And the porcupine quills are dyed with wolf moss and Oregon grape. Well, we have one more. This girl is dressed in ceremonial dance regalia. I made the small cap on her head. I also made this basket here and the baby basket, and a friend of mine made the cooking bowl, and the elder made the basket caps. But her dress is made out of buckskin, and she has abalone on her dress, and clamshells, and cedar berries. So a dress like this would be worn for the brush dance, which again is to heal a sick child, and also for the jump dance. And the jump dance is a world renewal ceremony to keep the, or put the world back in balance. During the World Renewal Ceremony, they use a basket that represents the family to lift up prayer. The men do it. The basket's woven by the women, but the men are the one that hold the baskets and lift up prayer with it. And then when they stomp to put evil in its place, because everything has a place. Everything that exists does have a place. And when we use fire, it helps restore that balance. We send our prayers up with smoke, and it's answered by fire. Fire restores the land. It makes the things that we rely on for basket materials and food. It creates a healthy environment for those plants and animals to exist. The places that we burned, we see deer in them. It was a lot of years before we saw deer just like near the road where we live. We see pileated woodpeckers. Woodpeckers are one of the ceremonial animals that the men use for their headdresses during dance, for the jump dance and the brush dance. And the thing to remember is that when those items dance, the spirits of those animals and those plants, they wake up and come to life, and they join us in our physical forms as we lift up prayer. So it's those in physical form and us, those in spiritual form and us in physical form joining together to put the world back in balance. And you can do that physically and you can do that spiritually. And fire is a tool that helps us do that. One of the food sources that is a staple in our diet is acorns. You'll see acorns in the gathering basket that's going around. And we gather those in the fall. As the Indian education director, I take busloads of kids out to gather acorns. And then we bring them back and dry them and then crack them, grind them up. And when I do it as groups, I have the old-time way that we do it with the mortar and pestle. And then I have the newer way where you turn the crank so people can get an appreciation of how much work went into preparing our food. And then after they're ground up into flour, we need to leach them or run water through them. And this is the basket that we use now. Traditionally they would do it in sand, but this basket, we lay a cloth in it, and like a porous cloth like muslin or cheesecloth, and then put the acorn flour in there and cover it with water and just drip water through it. I put it under my faucet and do it overnight. Other people do it longer. And then as long as you taste it and it's not bitter, then it's good. And then we use during dance time, we cook with the baskets and rocks, but at our homes we usually just cook them, in a pot on a stove. So some things stay the same, and some things evolve with the tools that are necessary or available to us now. I forgot where I was going after that one. In our community, fire was determined to be the #1 priority. We had the Building Healthy Communities initiative come to our area, and an organizer went around and interviewed over 100 households and had community meetings, and the question was, what is the most pressing issues in your community that you would like to change? And in our community, it was fire. We needed basket materials, and our land is so overgrown with brush that it's like a tinderbox. And so any kind of fire that starts, there's like one road in and one road out. And so we are rated as very high risk by CAL FIRE. But, here's Elizabeth. I agree. And so we made it a priority to bring fire back to the land. That, like I said, fire helps to restore the land. We do prescribed burns with what's called the TREX model. So the TREX model is a training model where we have people come in from all across the United States, and also last time we had 3 people from Spain. And so they're coming in to increase their firefighting qualifications, but they're not coming in to fight fire. They're coming in to learn how to light fires in a safe way that won't escape, that are low to medium intensity, because because that's what we need on the land. That's what we need to do to decrease the fuel load. We need to take the initiative and start reducing that fuel load with controlled burns so that wildfires don't come in and have all this fuel and they're just out of control and there's nothing to be done about them. And so along our one road that comes into the reservation, we have prioritized above the road as our area of where we are treating with fire. And being the Fire Management Council, the places we choose are those rich in cultural resources. Do they have hazel? Because we can't burn once and then we have sticks one spring and then call it good. We need to have hazel sticks every year. And so we need to burn at least one hazel patch every year. And so we actually have 2 burns a year. And the other part that we do is we're part of the Indigenous Peoples Burn Network. And one of the goals of the Indigenous Peoples Burn Network is to bring back family burns. Yeah. I had a meeting with CAL FIRE and Ken Pimlott, the head guy. There was 3 of us that went to meet with him and his lead people, and we told them, there's too much land for you guys to burn. The fuel load is too heavy. Let us help you. And so for our Trex burns, everybody's NWCG qualified and they're dressed in their yellows and greens and we have the fire engines and all that. But with the family burns, it is somebody burning the small area around their home. Or maybe they're burning their small acorn gathering area, or maybe their small stick patch. An acre, maybe 2. And we have a community burn class to teach people or remind people of how to burn safely in this new environment that we live in, where the land is so overgrown with brush that it's a very real threat that it could get away. And we have the Cultural Fire Management Council has a little Type 6 slip-on engine. I drove all night to get a truck to put that little slip-on in so that when families want to burn, we have water available for them. And so it's a 2-pronged approach. It's the burn big acres with NWCG quals and families burning small acres. My partner here who got caught up in traffic, her name is Elizabeth Azuz, and she's had a couple minutes to collect herself, so I'm thinking she has a few things to add to this presentation. Yeah? Yeah? No? She's still collecting herself. And so we have been putting fire on the ground for 7 years now. We did our first burn. It was 7 acres. It was a large hazel patch, and we were so excited because we had sticks again. And our biggest burn was 167 acres. And we were so excited because we had sticks again and we were seeing deer in the places we burned. They were not only browsing, but sometimes they were coming in, like we were barely done burning, the ash was barely cool, and we see deer in there rolling around, getting the ticks and bugs off of them. And so they're thriving, and deer is one of our primary sources of food, and as well as salmon. Now, you might not really think about water and fire being connected, but they most certainly are connected. All of that brush that's growing up is sucking up water that doesn't reach the creeks, which then don't reach the river. The fall before last, we burned about 120 acres. The fire burned really hot. It got rid of almost all of the brush. It looks so beautiful. I think black is beautiful. It burned all of the brush, and in this summer, I was there showing somebody a burn, somebody from the media, and as we stood on the road admiring the burn, I looked down, and there was water in the ditch in late summer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. This is so amazing. There's like water. There's never water in a ditch in late summer. And so it is definitely proof that it does affect the water. In terms of basket materials, the ferns, they require water also. And so when we are burning, getting rid of the other brush, those wet spaces are benefiting from it. Another thing that the fire does is, how many of you guys have water purifiers on your water systems? Yeah, some. And a lot of those purifiers are made with charcoal. Yeah, well, guess what's happening when we are burning whole hillsides and leaving charcoal? It's filtering the water. So the water is getting cleaner, it's getting more pure, and there is a definite benefit to the watershed when we're doing that. Our river is a river at risk. We have several dams on our river that are going to start coming down in 2020, 4 of them. So that's pretty exciting. But during the summer, the water temperature gets really warm. So warm, in fact, that in 2002, more than 60,000 salmon died and rotted on the banks of the river. Yeah, a sad thing. And so now every year we have to go to the Board of Reclamation and ask them, please release more water, our salmon need the water to survive. And we've been successful in putting enough pressure on them that we haven't had another fish kill. But we're also doing our part to make sure that more cold water reaches the creeks, which reach the river. And so there is a definite tie between fire and water, and fire and balanced ecosystems. And there is a definite tie between restoration of the land and restoration of the people. Because when the land is healthy, we're healthy. Our spirits are connected to the land, and we rely on it. We have come to realize that our efforts to protect our homes from wildfire and provide basket weaving materials for the basket weavers in our community is much more than that. Our efforts to restore this land is directly tied to the health of the people, and our people need help. We can all use help. And we all can provide help. We all do our part. Thank you guys. I think I might have... I have time for one question. I'm going to close my eyes, and when I open them, whoever I see with their hand up. Yes. Yes.
Your facial tattoos. Is that done when you were a child? Is this like temporary? Or
No, it's definitely a tattoo, and tattoos are forever. It's a traditional tattoo of the women in our Yurok tribe, as well as our neighboring tribes. It is one of those things that the meaning has been somewhat obscured over time due to our traumatic history. So depending on who you talk to is what answer you will get. I was taught by my elders that the 111 tattoo is a symbol of beauty. And I got my tattoo when I was 50 years old, and I got it to represent my commitment to continue the traditions of my ancestors.